Law and order is shaping up to be the defining issue of Queensland's third-term Labor government. It's a debate it has struggled to contain.
We've been advocating and pushing for years for change, but there hasn't been any.
We felt very let down by the system with a total lack of support.
The Palaszczuk government earlier this year introduced what it described as the toughest youth crime laws in the country. But these protesters who marched on Parliament House in Brisbane last week weren't impressed.
They're very good at spin doctoring. There's been no change that we can see.
Late last week, the government went a step further, suspending its own Human Rights Act to ensure it can hold young offenders, mostly Indigenous and some as young as 10, in police watch houses designed for adults. Queensland's Human Rights Commissioner was caught unaware.
I was surprised. I was shocked, actually, that a government would do something as rash as this.
Scott McDougall was appointed by the Palaszczuk government as Queensland's first Human Rights Commissioner only 4 years ago, just before the controversy of holding children in police watch houses was exposed by Four Corners. He's seen the debate over youth crime change dramatically over that time.
We've gone round in one big circle. We're back to where we were in 2018-19, and the government has not taken the measures to avoid the situation we have at the moment, where children are being caused psychological harm by being placed in watch houses for extended periods.
There has been a surge in serious crime over the past few years amongst repeat juvenile offenders, and there's been some horrific high-profile cases. And as the police use new laws to crack down on crime, the youth detention centres simply ran out of places. Today, across Queensland, there are still 46 juveniles being held in watch houses. Some have been there for weeks.
Police don't want to be seeing children in watch houses, but it's a balance between keeping community safe and in terms of if bail has been revoked or children do not have that ability to be back in community, we need to be ensuring that community is protected as well.
In defending the decision to suspend the Human Rights Act to continue holding kids in watch houses, the Premier said she was just confirming standard practice.
This actually formalises a practice that's been in place for 30 years, so that's point number one. Secondly, our job is to keep the public safe.
When I'm out in community across the state and I'm hearing from our stakeholders and from children that they feel safer in watch houses and detention centres than their own homes, that speaks volumes. Now, I'm not trying to suggest to you that watch houses is a great solution. It's not. But that speaks volumes with what we're actually contending with.
The legality of holding kids in watch houses was called into question this year in several court cases.
They've obviously pushed the government into this rash action, but really these cases they've been on notice of these cases for at least 4 or 5 years.
In an open letter published in today's Courier Mail, the former president of Queensland's Court of Appeal, Margaret McMurdo, said the youth crime debate was a race to the bottom by both sides of politics.
For the sake of our victims, our troubled young people and all Queensland taxpayers, I implore the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition to abandon the madness of the current law and order youth justice auction.
Is the LNP involved in a race to the bottom with Labor over youth justice?
Well, the LNP is concerned about community safety first and foremost, and we say the best way to do that, obviously, is that there must be consequences for actions. We must unshackle the judiciary, and we must have gold standard early interventions.
You don't see this as a race to the bottom?
Well, we've put forward on the table some suggestions, but we don't see it as other than protecting the community.
The Palaszczuk government was condemned across the political spectrum last week for the way it went about making these changes, fast-tracking them through Parliament by attaching them to an unrelated bill.
Whacked in at the last minute on very short notice, without any scrutiny, any proper process, any parliamentary debate, all rushed through in less than 24 hours.
With Anastacia Palaszczuk leaving for a European holiday after Parliament adjourned, her deputy was left to handle the fallout and even counter speculation about leadership.
Anastacia will lead the government to the next election. We have that strong, united team, and that's something the LNP just can't offer.
Both the acting Premier and the Minister for Youth Justice, Di Farmer, were unavailable for interview. The government argues the suspension of human rights is only temporary and won't be needed when new detention centres are opened in 2026. Critics say there have always been alternatives since the controversy was first raised more than 4 years ago, such as building demountables.
We need a minister who's actually capable of implementing a plan to take the steps that are required to ensure that we're protecting the community from crime, but at the same time not violating the rights of children.